everyone, welcome to part 2 in my ethnic painting videos. Today we're just going to give this baby a little bit of like the darkening, toning it up colours. So we'll just work together on that. I got this little jar last week just from it was from Choice actually, it's just a cheap shop we have in Australia called Choice. It was only $1.50 and I thought that this little container will be much better than this one, as you'll be able to see the color that I'm making a little bit more, and it might just give you a little bit more of an inside view of it. So what I'm going to start to do, because I'm going to have a few layers of this ethnic color, I'm going to make a bigger batch. So as you might remember last week, I was using 1 teaspoon, not tablespoon that I said last week, so 1 teaspoon. But this time I am going to use a tablespoon, and that should relatively give me 3 to 4 layers on this baby. So let's do that. Give myself a tablespoon. I know I'm a little crazy. Now, put that in there, probably spilled a little bit of it, but you get the picture. Okay. Checking my numbers there. Good. Okay, so as you can see, it's just a clear fluid because it's just odorless thinners. Get my trusty handy dandy brush and the paint color. Now for ethnic, it really depends on what kind of ethnicity, just ignore me, what kind of color tone you're after. So there's colours such as burnt umber, that's probably what I'll be using. You've got Flesh 02. Flesh 02, it doesn't have a tag on there, but you know what I mean. You've got all your flesh tones, so Flesh 02, Flesh 03 would probably something that you could use. But like I said, I'm going to use burnt umber for this one. And I will also be doing like a yellow layer, a yellowy layer and a purpley layer, just to give it a little bit of definition and see how we go. So I'm just going to wet my brush first. And then, like I always say, I'm going to do 2 brushes, which is 1 coat on either side of my brush. I'm just hoping my camera is okay so everything can be seen. So swipe my brush on one side, as you can see there's paint there and not there. Swipe on the other side. So that's what I would do. Remember something like that for 1 teaspoon. So as you can see, it's mixing in there now. But remembering that I have put in 1 tablespoon of odorless thinners, so I have to think about what I'm doing to how dark I need to make it. So I'm going to put another brush of that in. And then I'm going to get myself a paper towel, because I don't have one here. I do have a towel, but I don't really want to mess it up too much. So a brush on either side again, and mix it in. So as you can see from that brown, it's just brown. Let me get that paper towel. Okay, so the paper towel. And I'm just getting that because I just want to give you a little bit of a view about the transparency of the actual brown. And this week, just to let you know, I've put my phone way over there, so it's not going to bother me too much. So as you can see that brown there. So I'm just going to actually go with that at this stage. Sometimes, like I said, it really depends on how you're feeling or what it's sort of coming out like. But sometimes I will go with put a little dab of yellow in there, or even a little bit dab of red. Just depends on sort of what I'm after. So that's one thing with reborning. You need to learn to just work with your colors. Like if I put this on now and I don't like it, I can just wipe it off very easily. So I know that works differently with air dry. Air dry, you'd have to think about it fairly quickly to wipe it off. It doesn't dry like that. It takes about 20 minutes to fully cure, but you want to know what you're doing, if you know what I mean. So if you were working with air dry paints, let's just say, I would just stick with going with the Flesh 02 or Dark Flesh, especially from Luminaire. Go with Flesh 02 or Dark Flesh. So that will get you the same sort of effect, mixing it with water and everything. Okay, so I'm going to go, first my layer, I'm going to go with the same sort of sponge that I used in my last video. I'm actually going to use the same sponge. So it was just the cosmetic wedge, the top ripped off. So I'm just going to coat the top of my cosmetic wedge. Hopefully everyone can see it's not too far away. Now looking at this, I'm not quite sure if it's as dark as I'd like it to be, so I'm just going to pounce on. Remembering all these layers anyway are going to be translucent. Again, I look at that. Yeah, that's okay. I'm going to leave it with that at the moment because they're translucent layers, and if it's not turning out the way I want, I've just got to add an extra layer or darken my mixture a bit. So it's not too stressful. So just pouncing all over the kit. Hoping everyone had a really lovely week. I actually have a lot of things going on in my life at the moment, some crazy things in my family and that, so I've actually been a little bit out of sorts. I'm not really up to myself at the moment, but I'm confident everything will work itself out and I'll get back to where I normally am. But one thing is for sure, I do love doing my YouTube videos. Having done the one last week and that, it's actually quite therapeutic for me. I feel like even though you're not sitting in front of me, I feel like I'm kind of talking to you and you're actually listening and caring about what's going on. So I wanted to say a big thanks to everyone who welcomed me back to my videos, and it just actually, with everything going on, it made me feel really, really special and needed and loved, and I just felt very important to you guys. So just wanted to thank you, just to remind you that when you do comment on people's YouTube's videos, it can make a difference, you know, as long as they're caring enough to reply, I guess. But it can make a difference in people's lives. So, you know, always think of how you would like to be treated and do it to others. So thank you. There's just so many people out there that showed me love, and I know I'm making this long-winded, but I just wanted to really thank you guys all. It really made me feel very special. Okay, God, I carry on sometimes. Anyway, I'm getting to some of the parts that are creasy, so I'll get in there with my brush. Don't know if you can see like the difference between, I've just done just above on his eyelids and I haven't done the cheeks, so you can see there is a darkening happening there. It will be so minute, hard to tell. I actually can tell, even though I thought this colour wasn't dark enough. What I'm going to do to get in my crease is just wipe my brush on my sponge so it's not all wet and soapy, soggy, and just pounce around with my brush in those crevices in the ears, behind the ears. It's important to make sure you paint everywhere. If you see a baby it's not got unpainted behind the ears, it's still as detailed. So in the eyes, eye creases there, around the nose, in the nostril, and this one I'm going to go over the lips. Okay, in future videos you will see that I won't be painting the lips or the hands or feet. So just keep giving your mixture a little mix, a little stir as you go. You want to make sure it's always mixed in equally, and just pounce out. I'm going to use this batch that's on my sponge to pounce out the rest of the face, and then you know, just pounce very lightly around the eyes and the nose where you just pounced with your brush. Now that will just take off any excess fluid. And I'm also going to use my foamy, my Maxi Mop Foamy that I talked about last week, and I'm going to pounce in around the eyes there, especially because it's a dark baby. I don't want to leave any excess fluid around those creases. It won't be a good look. So in the ear, look, it just sort of fits in really nicely in those little creases. And to be honest, you know, like I had Jasmine did a review on this and did a test, told me what she thought of it, and I feel that that was really, really good. It's the first time of using this, and I felt that that picked up the paint very well in those creases. Excellent. So as you can see now, this is my first layer compared to the leg. Now once again, the leg isn't shiny, but you can see there is a slight difference, and I'm loving it actually. What do you think? Good. Okay, so now I'm going to do my limbs, and like I said to you before, I'm going to, with this particular layer, I'm actually going to go over the palms and the under the feet. In future layers I won't. So I don't want to bore you too much, but I'm just going to show you what I am doing for those who are starting out and feel a little bit nervous. I'm here for you, okay? I'm here. So just see how I'm just pouncing lightly in that palm, because I just want to give it a slight coffee color. Like, I don't want it to be too white, too pale, but I don't want it to be as dark as what the kit will be in the end. Okay, so that's what I do, and then I'm going to leave, once I've put all the paint on, I'm going to leave it to dry, and then I'm going to bake it. Some people, it's really a bit of an each to your own type of syndrome here. You could do 2 layers if you wanted and then bake. Oh, sorry. Why am I saying sorry to the limb just because I knocked it over? You could bake it, take 2 layers and then bake if you wish. It's totally up to you. I think with the ethnic though, the main concern of people is they want the paint to stick. They don't want it rubbing off, that kind of stuff. So I think you're probably better off to do each bake. I know with the first layer that I did 2 layers before I baked, but that was more of a neutralizing, whitening it, lightening the kit. So I don't think that was much of a problem to do it that way because I was lightening it. But this way I think I'll bake each layer. So let's just go and get to layer 2. Okay, so I have now done that first layer of the dark tone, and I have let it dry, and then I've baked it and let it cool. So as you can see, there's not much difference at this stage. I mean, to be honest, it's probably back to where I started. So if you were starting from this video from part 1, you will notice that it was a blank biracial kit, and then I brought it down with neutralizing it, brought the color down to make it lighter, and now I'm bringing it up. And you might say, well, what's the use of that if it's now like similar to how it started? Well, it's not quite up to there yet, but it's similar. And the reasoning is because now it's got more definition. It's got, it's not just a flat color. It's now got little speckles and like our own skin, it's not all a flat plain color. It's got different variations in the tones and everything like that. So bringing it back up is bringing it to that stage. Like I said, I don't want to make it too dark, so that's why I really had to bring it down first to bring it back up. So as you know, right now I'm just going to do exactly what I did before, and we're going to put another layer on it. So it's just exactly how I did it before, but this time I'm not going to paint the lips, and I'm not going to paint the palms of the hands and the bottom of the feet. I'm just sort of looking at it thinking, do I want to get it? I could personally, like if it was you, depending on what kind of color you are looking at making your baby, I would probably suggest at this time maybe even adding some more of your dark tone into it, more of your Flesh 02 or your burnt umber. Add some more into it if you want to get it darker quicker. Not too much, just because obviously each of these layers is a translucent layer. So there's just layering upon layer to get that dark tone that we want. I, of course, because it's just going to have that light coffee, cappuccino sort of look, I don't want to take my colouring up too fast. Otherwise, I'll be at the colour I need with still a lot of detail to do. So just pounce it on, just like I did the first time. But like I said, this time I'm not going over the lips. Just pounce in the ears there, behind the ears, in the gaps of the eyes, the creases I should say, eyes, nose, and not the mouth, not the mouth. So nice and easy on it. I personally like the look. Just be careful when you're going around the mouth. I know you can't really see me properly being far away, but just try to get your sponge around the edge of the mouth there, so not to go on the lips. Hope everyone can see it fairly well. Okay, I'm just going to pounce a little bit into the ear there again. And then like I did before, hang on, get in there, crease in there. Okay. And like I did before, I'm just going to get my foamy and I'm going to get in those little creases that are holding a little bit of excess paint. If they are, they're not always. Just for safety's sake, I would hate to have them dry with big marks in there. That's for the creases, not for the skin tone. So as you can see, stay still, I have not painted the lips. Okay, so I'm going to go do the rest of the kit. Like I said, if you didn't hear me before, I understand before, don't paint in the palms of the hands and don't paint in the under of the foot. Actually, I might do the foot to just show you what I do. When I'm doing feet, I'll just bounce this. So with a biracial, to pounce over the top of the toes first and around the sides of the feet and the back of the ankle. You should always have your brush ready so you can get in those fine little crevices in between the toes. We don't want to miss anything, you know, that's part of it. You don't want, like if you're starting from a plain white kit and you don't do that, then people might see in between their toes and see that it's white. So now what I do, have a spare cosmetic wedge just in case you have a run. I just had a run there. So just wipe that off. Spare cosmetic wedge, and that's the top of the one I ripped off. But what I wanted to show you is when I'm doing the bottom of the feet, I always paint in the arch. You know, the arch part of our foot just there? So if you look at a footprint as such, it sort of goes around, doesn't it? So that's why I sort of darken the arch a little bit, just like do a half moon in there. I'm not sure how well you can see that. Can you see where I've painted like the half moon shape in that arch? That's all you have to do, just a little bit of darkening, just so when it comes to the end, that sort of has a bit more definition, it looks darker. Now when I do my next layer, I'm actually going to go to a yellow tone, but I suggest if you're wanting a darker baby, then I suggest you add a little bit of darkened color to your paint, and then do like as many layers as you think to be what you want. You know, like there's no rule on how many layers you can do or want to do, but just stick to the rules. Don't paint the lips, don't paint the under of the foot or the palms. Stick to those rules and you'll be fine. You can, you know, do any amount. Do 6 layers, do 8 layers, do 10 layers, whatever you think. Just bake in between every layer and look at it from your perspective and think to yourself, well, how am I wanting this to look? You know? And just keep going until you get a little bit darker. Now, I'm not saying that this is as dark as I want it to be. I'm going to do it darker, so don't do it to your darkest level that you'd like it to be. Just do it to make it a little bit darker. Then you'll come back with me, we'll do the yellow tone, then I'll probably do a couple more dark tones. I'll do then a purple wash on it to bring about purple up, maybe even some more dark tones on that, and then well, within that time I'll be doing creasing and blushing and everything like that. So I would suggest at this time, let's say you're not happy with this color, then do say another 4 to 6. Okay, you go do that, I'll go do this, and I'll see you in a millisecond. Okay, so after that baking, it hasn't been much huge change. I'll show you there. It's looking good, but like I said, it's kind of pretty much brought it back to like day one, except the definition on it. So now I'm going to add like a yellow tone. So I thought before you keep going, I'm not sure, but if you haven't done your other layers of the ethnic color yet, try not too much to go on the nails themselves. It doesn't matter at this stage if you have, but from now on, with those dark tones, let's not do the nails. Sorry that I didn't say that before. Okay, so I'm going to get my odorless solvent again, and I'm going to go for the 1 teaspoon because I only want to do 1 layer of this. So 1 teaspoon is enough. That's for me in this kit. If you're a bit unsure, just add a little bit more, or even add 2 teaspoons, maybe half a tablespoon. Because if we look at this, this is half a tablespoon and this is a teaspoon. There's not much difference in it. It's just a little bit extra, so you might want to go for that, especially if your kit's a little bit bigger. Now, as we go with yellows, there's once again so many different ways you can go. This one here, what have I got? This is a raw, I'm going to write it down below because I can't remember the actual name for it, but it's raw something, raw sienna, I think. And then this yellow as well. There's also the ochre yellow as well, so any of those colors will be fine. It just depends what you want to do. Totally depends on what kind of look, doesn't it? So I just had to think about it for a moment. I am going to go the bright Genesis yellow, and then I'm going to just do a little bit of a hint of burnt umber in that. So I'm gonna, you're just gonna work with me on this. I don't even know myself what I'm going to do. My brush already has some burnt umber in it. Actually, the pleasure, what is that? Don't worry about it. It just has some thing in it. Okay, so I'm wetting my brush, and for a start, I'm just going to take 1 brush. So that is one side. And see, because this is a new yellow, it's come off very easily onto my brush. I don't have to whack it too much. So you can see that's a really bright yellow. Obviously, I'm not going to use that. Not obvious. Some people do plenty of layers of their skin tones and they use that kind of layer. I I'm now going to get the hint of this one, the burnt umber. Now mind the way I say things. If it's not exactly what you've heard before and I'm saying it wrong, I do apologise. It's just the way I say it. So what I'm going to do for this is a quarter of a brush. So a quarter is just not the full side, just half. Now don't forget to, all brushes are going to be different. Your brushes are going to be different than mine, but it's not going to be that out of whack unless you're using like, let's use both sides of that compared to this, then you'll have a difference. So I'm just going to mix that in. It's just a little bit on the end, and that's just going to take a little bit of the edge of that bright yellow. It's actually bringing it into a mustard tone there. It actually looks exactly like hot English mustard. So it's pretty much a lot like the raw sienna, a lot like that. I've just made it that way myself. So like I said, you can, it's endless. If you're using the Luminaire air dry paints with that, there is a yellow, the Asian flesh tone could be good for that because it's got a bit of a yellowy tinge to it. But if you're making it from scratch, just probably get a yellow and a burnt umber and you can do the same sort of thing. I hope this is helping everyone, trying to do as best as I can. Now with this one, I'm just, it doesn't matter once again what kind of utensil you use to put your paint on. But for this one, I'm just going to give this a go, which is just your sea sponge. You've seen me use those plenty of times, but I'm just going to use this on this layer just for something different, just so I can get a little bit of a different tone there, a little bit of a different tone. So I'm going to, I don't know if you can see that it's got a really spotty side there, and then it's got a little freckly side there. I'm going to use the spotty side. So you just swipe it onto your sponge, and then just literally, just like you've done before, we're just going to pounce it on. Okay, now as I'm putting it on, I'll just explain to you, you might be able to see it there, it looks very kind of yellow. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. No, I'm not. I'm really not scared. Because the fact is, I've still got many layers to do over this. Now it's not full on yellow. Don't think I'm whacked here. It's not full on yellow. It's just I can see the tone of yellow in it. It's fine. Now I'm just gonna blend it out as much as I can. Well, not blend it, but just pounce it out. And in those places where it's hard to get, like it's really hard to get behind the ear there, I'm going to see if I got, yeah, I'm just gonna pounce it with my brush, just ever so lightly, just so I can get in there, in the ears, around the back of the ear. So I also believe when I'm doing this colour, it's a colour on your sponge that will go a long way. So I don't have to keep reapplying the colour to my sponge. It tends to go a long way. That's with the heat set. Air dry might be a different concept. Just with the brush again, pouncing in that eye area, around the nose, nostrils, not on the mouth. Keep the mouth free. Can you see the yellowing to that? Awesome. Okay. It is coming off the sponge now, so I'll give it a little bit of a top up. I don't want it to be too much though, so I'm just going to really try to like wring out my brush, try to get as much fluid off there as I can. Just want it to be a little bit of a top up. little bit more. Okay, so I'm almost there. Just one thing you need to do when you're using a different color like this, obviously you don't want to leave big blobs of that yellow tone there. You want to make sure it's all blended in as much as you can and not sitting in the creases. Sitting in the creases, like I said before, will just dry out in the end and you'll have a yellow line or a light yellow line in that crease. And although we paint over the creases, it's best that we don't have to work over the top of a colour we didn't want there in the first place. I'm just going to get around those lips a little bit. I don't want to miss that lip line. And sponge it out. So that's the foamy, like I can just press it on there. Soaks up the paint. That actually works so well. And even using the back of it, that where I went over the lip a little bit. Really liking that. Okay, so now I'm going to do my limbs. I'll be back in a minute once I've done my limbs. Just remember, when you're doing your limbs, don't do the palms. Okay, so let's say that's the end of part 2. I don't want to push you too far. So in part 2, you were doing the bringing up the colour, putting some ethnic tone on it. Now you could have done 1 or 2 or 4 to 6 layers of that one. That was totally up to you. And then we had the yellowing tone. Only one tone, one application, one layer of that. Now I haven't baked this yet. I'll bring him up really close so you can just see a light yellow tinge to him there. So that's where we're at. So like I said, I'm going to bake him and then get him ready for his next layer. So in part 3, we're going to then, what I'm going to do, and you're going to follow me with, I'm going to do some more ethnic flesh tones. I'm going to darken that up just a hint, and I'm going to probably put another 2 layers of that. And then I'm going to go with purpling, and we're going to do creases and blushing. Probably not all in part 3. I want to try to make this to be a 4 to 5 part series, probably not much more. If I have to add the hair in it, it might be a little bit more. Tell me, do you want to see me do the hair on this baby? Let me know. Just pop your little comment below. Please everyone, like up this video. I want to see if I can make it to 200 likes on this video within a week. Let's see, can I do it? I don't think I could do 200 likes on the video in 1 week. But let's see. We'll give it a go anyway. Thank you again for every one of your lovely messages welcoming me back at part 1. I'm loving being back. I'm loving not being under pressure and just being able to make a baby. This one is one of my last orders that I'm taking, but it's just great to be able to do it at my own pace. My lovely customer is just whenever, and it's just so beautiful. So thank you again. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe, and I will see you all for part 3. See ya. Bye. Thanks. Mwah.